International condemnation of the government.
Nicolas Maduro, get out. They fired rubber bullets and tear gas.
They've been building the barricades across Venezuela for days.
This video series is my account of spending 2 weeks as a tourist in Venezuela. What you are about to see is what I personally witnessed whilst in the country. Nothing more, nothing less.
Venezuela.
Take the keys, at least take the car. But the guys didn't want the car. They just tell us, please get in the car. We should do both.
So I know I ended the last video in Colombia. Sadly, there won't be any videos of Colombia. Basically, the whole trip to South America was just to visit Venezuela and try and get a reasonably in-depth look at the situation there. I did what I could with the resources I had. Traveling in Venezuela is extremely complicated for many reasons. For safety, it's actually quite expensive to travel in Venezuela even as a foreigner because they have inflated the US dollar. So like I've mentioned in many videos, the US dollar has a different value there, much higher than outside of Venezuela. So even as a foreigner, it's hard to travel there. So imagine living there, getting paid the very low salary. I think it's dropped below $5 a month now. If it's expensive for me and there's people living there facing these situations every day, then I think that says a lot. Anyway, so I'm gonna answer some questions that you guys have asked on Instagram about my trip and my experiences there, and just kind of like a debrief of the whole thing, because it was one of the heaviest, if not the most, no, actually it was the most heavy and most extreme travels of my life. Before I answer those questions though, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone, because I've thanked people on Instagram but not on YouTube for the donations. It's incredible. I want to start this video with something more positive because I know this video and the Venezuela series has been overwhelmingly negative. The positive thing is, through my second video of Venezuela where we went into Petare, which is Latin America's biggest slum, we managed to raise, to date, it's still going up every day, currently sitting at $221,000 US dollars raised for the soup kitchen project there. Absolutely mind-blowing. $200,000 is enough to buy, I think, 666,000 meals for children. So it's incomprehensible. I'm going to be doing follow-up videos and follow-up posts on my Instagram about this whole project, because you can imagine it's a mammoth task to undertake to try and get through the technicalities and things like tax. Tax is holding the whole thing up at the moment because the money is through GoFundMe, so it's gone into an American bank account. So to get the money cleared from the US and get it into Venezuela without getting it taxed, which would be 30% or so tax. So we're trying to avoid that. So it's being registered as a charity so we can get all that money to the children that need it in Venezuela and facilitate the whole soup kitchen program. There's going to be new soup kitchens built. I don't know if you remember Maria's house. That's going to be completely remodeled. We're working through at the moment whether we're going to just completely get a new location for her or if we're going to do up her existing conditions, because I think that's what really did it for everybody to donate, was seeing that situation and seeing her, you know, putting so much effort in and so much work for free and working and living in those conditions. It's not on. So that's the first project, to fix up her conditions. As I say, I'm going to be giving updates as we get through this tax situation and go from there. But yeah, a huge thank you to you guys, because there's no way without this audience. It's amazing. Like within the first 48 hours, it was $100,000 raised, and then a month later, 200,000, and it's still going now to 220 or so. So no words for that. It's outstanding. So thank you guys. Incredible. So I'm gonna get on with the questions now from my Instagram post. So I got like over 500 questions, so there's no way I can answer them all, obviously, but I'll go through and just pick out some at random. First question's from Karen. You said that Venezuela had a huge impact on you. Could you please explore that sentiment more? I mean, yes, the videos demonstrated the kinds of stresses Venezuela has experienced, but what impact did it have on you? And has it had an impact on where and how you will travel in the future? What emotional growth did you experience from this trip? It had a huge impact on me. I don't know, it's hard to really put into words This is something I really struggle to try and convey, what it's like to be on the ground level of a situation like that. Extremely, extremely humbling. Beyond words how humbling it was. It was in such a short time frame that we were seeing all these things back to back. All the videos were back to back. These are every single day that you see on the videos is one day after another. Seeing all that in such a short period of time, it really kind of makes you, see, I can't get the words out because it was so intense, but Venezuela is a different planet from any other country I've been to. The impact it had on me is it made me more grounded, concentrate on what's important and not get caught up so much in the little things in life, I think was the main takeaway if I can narrow it down, but seriously, it was something much greater. That answer doesn't really do it justice, but overwhelmingly humbling is, in 2 words. David Monza asks, was there any situation where you felt in actual danger, not just potential danger? Yes, there was a couple situations. I'll give you one. One of them was we were coming up to a police checkpoint. This was in the countryside when we went to the coast, and the policeman started waving us down. And I naturally thought that our driver was going to stop, but the driver went right past the cop, and the cop put his hand on his pistol. He had a gun, and looked in the rearview mirror, and he had his gun in his hand. I was ducking because I thought he might kind of shoot out the back window. I was like, what's going on? And my driver was like, I'm not stopping. They'll probably just try and get money out of us. So that was definitely a feeling of danger. Interesting thing was, a few kilometers down the road, we went past another cop, nothing. So I think if that was another country, they would have radioed forward and said, hey, there's a guy that I tried to stop and he purposely drove through. So I think that kind of tells that, yes, maybe he was going to try and get something out of the driver. So yeah, that was pretty spooky. Luca Audrea asks, when the situation calms down, will you recommend to visit? Yes, definitely. Venezuela is a beautiful country with great people and great food, amazing history, and not to mention the nature I didn't quite get to visit, but one of the biggest waterfalls in the world, Angel Falls, is in Venezuela. So that would be definitely something. I couldn't make it that time because the logistics to get out there was a bit extreme, and I just mentioned about the money and things, and I was focusing more on the human side this trip. But if the situation gets better, then yes, I would highly recommend people to go and visit. Zotter asks, why did you want to travel to Venezuela? What was your motivation? Similar to all of my motivation to visit the countries I travel to, I try to go to countries that are represented in a very negative way in the media and get on the ground level and see what's really going on there. I feel pretty confident in saying that I showed a bit more of a real and raw view of it than you see when you turn on the television. That's my opinion. Gonye Travels asks, what was your favorite location city? Well, my favorite location would definitely be the coast, because it was so nice to just chill and not have to watch your back every 5 seconds. There was danger there, but when we were in Chirimene, it just felt so nice and relaxed and not having to be like, oh, somebody's gonna rob me or something, on edge all the time. It was nice to get away from that and, go for a swim and hang out with friends. And like I've mentioned, I made like lifelong connections in Venezuela that I still talk to. I talk to Lenny like every day almost, just talking about the situation and talking about the soup kitchens and the times that we spent on the coast with Jose and Marianto. It was really nice times. Parad Papan 14. The citizens trying to escape the country. Yes, and they are succeeding, many of them. I think, well, at this point, over 4 million Venezuelans have left their country, and every day more and more leak out. I got messages from all over the world from Venezuelans telling me that they have left the country and they're building their new lives. Many have escaped, and right now, many more are trying to leave. Some succeeding, some not being able to eat for days on their journey, getting out of the country. So yes, people are trying and a lot are succeeding on escaping. Casual Friday bitchness. How long do you need to process all that you have seen? Good question. Still working on that one. Alexanderna, was your bodyguard armed and did you use armored cars to go to and from the airport? No, Lenny was only armed with his personality, which is quite a powerful weapon. We were just driving in normal cars, or we were riding the metro, and even being on the metro, people were stopping us and saying like, what are you doing? You shouldn't be walking around here, let alone with a camera. So no. We weren't armed, but we were extremely lucky, I would say. John Raleigh, did you ever feel like a government official may come and arrest you for filming and saying anything bad about the current regime? And did you have to ask permission to film while you were in the country? I'm sure I had to ask for permission to film, but I didn't ask because there's no way that I'd be allowed to film, because I was showing the situation, and the situation isn't good and it doesn't reflect badly under some people's eyes on the powers that be. Very touchy subject that's going to hit the comment section. Many people also are asking me why I didn't mention about US sanctions in my videos, and I'm sure I should touch on this. It's a very, very touchy subject. The reason I didn't mention it is because everybody that I asked, everybody that I interviewed did not bring it up. The way that I try to come from my videos, I try to film the situation and don't put my own political ideas into it. When I'm just filming, interviewing people and they're not bringing things up, I'm not gonna try and jab them to bring it up. It's quite interesting actually. People who aren't Venezuelans, who aren't living in Venezuela and are from other countries, seem to have this opinion that it's all America's fault and it's nothing to do with the Venezuelan government. People in Venezuela, the opposite. So I'm not saying which one's right, but I'm just saying that's the opinion of each arguing side. So you make your own opinion there. To answer, do I ever feel like I could have got in trouble? Definitely. Every day I was feeling like I could have got in trouble. I was on edge the whole time. Kamikaze, would you like to go back to Venezuela one day? Absolutely, I would love to go back. I would love to go back and explore the nature and also see my friends again. But not until the current government changes hands, because I don't think I'm the most popular in their eyes for certain reasons. In the future, I'd love to go back. I'd love to go back when Venezuela is once again thriving and being the strong country that it has the potential to be. Hang out with the lovely people there. There's a great social scene in Venezuela. Amazing people, great senses of humor. Remove the hardships and the dire situation. You've got the Caribbean Sea, you've got beautiful coastline, you've got mountains. It's a winning country. It just needs to get rid of the situation. Alexandros 1984 asks, how can they afford food? I think when you say they, I think you mean the people of Venezuela. And the short answer for that, they can't. Some of them can, a lot of them can't. And that's why things like that GoFundMe page exist. And that's why over 4 million people have left. Because how can you afford food when you're getting paid less than $5 a month? Like I mentioned, lots of money's coming in from outside sources. All over the world, people are living, like I mentioned, sending money back to their loved ones. Some aren't so lucky, so many people leave. Short answer, they can't afford food. Marcio SJR asks, do you really think Venezuela was the most dangerous country you've ever visited? Yes, definitely, by far. I'm happy to walk around the streets of Iraqi Kurdistan or Iran. Iran is probably one of the most safe countries I've been to. I felt safer in North Korea than I did in Venezuela, and I'm not exaggerating, that's true. It would be hard to compete with Venezuela in terms of danger. Everybody that you talk to in Venezuela has a story of kidnappings or robbings or worse. So it's not uncommon for terrible things to be happening to people on a regular basis. The Maduro government recently placed visa restrictions on American citizens. More information obtaining the visa. Maiken O'Gozonis asks. Well, I'm not American, so I can't answer to that. I got visa on arrival. Pretty simply, I got questioned a little bit, like what I was doing there. I was tourism, meeting a friend, and it was pretty streamlined on the way in. On the way out, it was a bit more complicated, but you can look it up on Wikipedia. It's quite easy to get in, but be careful because you're not sure what you might be getting yourself in for. Photograph BYV. How did you feel when arriving and leaving? When arriving, not too bad, quite nervous though. Leaving, I felt one of the biggest reliefs of my life. And getting out of there physically unscathed, I wouldn't say mentally unscathed, but physically unscathed with all my belongings, I think that's some kind of an achievement. It really did feel like escaping to me when I was putting myself under those risks every single day, going into some of the deepest corners of Venezuela, some of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the world. I've received many messages from Venezuelans telling me that they would never dare to go to the places that Lenny and I went to. So I felt very relieved getting out of there, which is sad to say because I am leaving behind everybody. But I do hope that through these videos we can bring more awareness and I know it's not going to contribute a lot, but the people of Venezuela really need help. And they need international help to get them out of this situation, and it's truly sad. So it was a sad thing to leave that behind, but it was also relieving, if I'm going to be honest. This is a good question. Sofia Cardenisel. From a foreigner's point of view, do you think they will overcome the situation? And I would say yes, because if you look back, not even that long, 20, 30 years, Colombia was the one in deep trouble and Venezuela were helping them out, Now it's the opposite. And so it just shows how quickly things can change. In Colombia's situation, for the better, Colombia was one of the most dangerous countries on the planet. And now it's Venezuela. Colombia is still relatively dangerous in some places, but compared to Venezuela now, it doesn't come close. So I think that there's big potential for Venezuela again, as it was the third biggest economy in all of the Americas. So it was USA, Canada, and then Venezuela, obviously the richest economy in Latin America. So of course there's potential for it to rise up again and become a great nation. It is a great nation. It's just going through some hard times. But of course, if you look through history, most countries have been through some kind of strife, and a lot of them have come through that. I'm gonna wrap up the questions there, guys. There was a lot of questions. A lot of them were repetitive. A lot of them were like the same kind of questions. Many of the questions I just answered. Many asking would I go back. Many asking me about US sanctions. I've covered that. Many about why I chose to go. So I think I covered it. So my next trip, I'm gonna let you know. But just before I do that, I just wanna say a big thank you to the sponsor of this video. So today's sponsor is .space domains. If you check in the description box, you'll see all my links have been customized to Indigo Traveler .space. So it's basically a way to customize your URLs. You can do it with even things like Instagram and Facebook. So I've customized my URLs down below. So for example, many websites are .com. .space is a bit more unique. It's a lot more affordable. I'll go into that in just one second, but it's also much more available. For example, probably what you would like your website to be is available with .space. It's also a bit more unique than the standard and it kind of sticks out. So when you see .space, it'll grab your attention. So yeah, if you sign up using the link below and my code Indigo Traveler, all capitals, information in the description box below, you'll get 90% off a year, and it's only $1.50 a year. And once you have your .space domain, you can go to a website called rebrandly.com. From there, you can customize any link you want to begin with your website .space / and then you choose what you want to say. For example, here I've got Indigo Traveler .space / Instagram. You can do it with Facebook or your own personal website, any link you want. Really easy to set up. A great way to kind of customize your brand. So yeah, if you want your website or your blog to stand out, then hit that link below. And use my code Indigo Traveler to get 90% off a 1-year license, which will be $1.50. So a big thank you to .space for sponsoring the channel, keeping the travels going, and supporting these videos. Next travels, I've got some huge things lined up for the rest of the year. It's basically packed with a bunch of different trips. There's going to be a bit of a break between this and the next travels. It's going to be a continent that I have been to, but not in quite a while. I'll give you a clue. It's south of Europe, so that should pretty much give it away to you guys. So leave your guesses below to where you think I'm going in the second biggest continent of the world. There you go, just giving it away. It should be a pretty mind-opening trip, I think. This is a country that might be perceived incorrectly by majority of people, and I hope to get my perception of it smashed into a million pieces. But again, I'm gonna go there and film it, and then I'm gonna release the videos to you guys. So thank you so much for your support on the Venezuela series. It's by far my most proud work to date. Very involving process, filming those videos for sure, and editing them and reliving the whole thing, editing it and releasing it. It was something I'll never forget. Thank you, and thank you to all the Venezuelans for your support and your amazing feedback and your hundreds of messages. I'm blown away by your guys' love, so thank you, and thanks for having me in your country. To everybody else, I hope that you enjoyed the series and you're excited for what's to come, because I sure am, and there's some big project coming that I can't wait to share with you. Very exciting. So thanks so much, guys, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.